2022 was a year? Yep. Will Smith answered the age-old question of how can he slap when he socked Chris Rock at the Oscars, Elon Musk bought Twitter and then proceeded to systematically burn it to the ground, a head of lettuce lasted longer than the UK Prime Minister, Kanye West somehow went crazier than ever, and my country won the World Cup after 36 long years. Look at the smile on Messi's face, God I love it. But we're not here to discuss world events, we're here to talk about anime. Now that the year is over, most AniTubers will do roundups of the best anime of the year and stuff like that, and that's absolutely fine, but I won't do that. Anime openings, we all love them, some of you skip them, but you don't count. As the introduction to an episode, an opening must do a lot of stuff. It should present the characters, the setting, maybe the conflict, some action to get you hyped, and many other things. So I thought, what better way to wrap up this hell of a year looking back at some of the best openings that we got throughout it all. Now, some clarifications before we begin. I am not here to rank all of these openings or to determine which one was the OP of the year. I just want to bring attention to some of the ones that I thought were really good because I want to give them the attention they deserve. Because the people that worked on them most likely worked really hard, and I feel there's a lot of things to enjoy about these sequences. And also, I just want to talk about anime openings, okay? Shut up. Well then, let's start. Winter! Akebi's sailor uniform gave us an adorable OP filled with very subtle but effective character animation showcasing all of the cute girls doing their cute things, with the white sections framing all of the shots in a way that's reminiscent of Chunibyo's OP. Also, there's feet, if you're into that. And on the topic of cute openings, Takagi-san gave us another one. Sure, it wasn't as animated as Akebi's, but it was cute nonetheless. And then My Dress Up Darling gave us an assortment of cute and adorable shots of Best Girl Marin, but also let's not forget Best Boy Gojo because this OP does an incredible job in the characterization of both of these characters, on top of having some really solid animation all around. Girls Frontline gave us a stunning sequence with a very unique shading on its characters, reminiscent of God Eater but like times 11, and also some incredible effects animation all brought together by the masterful hand of Kentaro Waki. Princess Connect gave us an opening that throughout most of its runtime, it's alright, very slice of lifey. But then in the last 30 seconds or so, they go insanely hard on the Sakuga with so many characters having their own little moments in just one long-ass continuous shot. Leiden Films, or Liden Films, or whatever, gave us Hanebado but with guys in Ryman's Club. And while it didn't have an opening as stylish as the former, it did have guys being dudes, some classy man service, and all with some really good character animation to boot. Sabikui Bisco had a very weird opening, to say the least, but damn if it didn't look good, with its somewhat dirty look and simplistic backgrounds, and also extra credits for incorporating the credits in such creative ways, plastering some of them in the bodies of the flying whales. Yeah, it's weird, alright. Attack on Titan, the not-so-final season, gave us another banger perfectly encapsulating the tone shift of this part of the story, giving us the closest thing to the feel of Masashi Ishihama's incredible OP way back in the first season, so good job on that, Takashi Kojima. And speaking of Ishihama, this season he directed the OP for this show that I had not heard of called Tokyo 24th Ward. It just flew under the radar, but damn it, the man cannot miss with whatever OP he decides to direct. It is full of every single usual Ishihama trope, the creative credits, the complex split screen, the fast transitions, the contrasting colors. It's Ishihama through and through, for crying out loud. But also, another great director popped off yet again this year, Shingo Yamashita. You might not know his name, but you sure as hell know his work. He did both of Jujutsu Kaisen's openings. And for this season, he was in charge of the beautiful second opening for Ranking of Kings. The OP itself is very calm, very chill, and it's filled to the brim with subtle but really well-made character animation, which is one of Yamashita's trademark directorial traits. And for a show like this, it works really well, taking full advantage of the simplistic character designs. The result is just a gorgeous sequence all around. One Piece premiered its yearly opening to close out the Wano arc, and I swear to god, these Wano openings keep getting better and better. The art style and the animation shine brightly with this one, showcasing every major confrontation during the raid in Onigashima in some of the most incredible action sequences that any One Piece opening ever had. Also, it was the first opening to include my boy Jinbei as a proper Straw Hat member, and I couldn't be happier. See that scene with Luffy giving him a big hug? That's me. And also the entirety of the One Piece fandom right there. And then Boruto of all series had another incredible opening. Seriously, this OP is too good to be in a show like this. But I guess Pierrot really upped their game in this department, huh? This OP has so many gorgeous shots, but also some of the best action animation I've seen all year. I'm not joking, just look at this, holy shit! It is quite literally jaw-dropping, and to top it all off, it's Flo that did the song, so you know it's gonna be a banger. And finally, I debated whether or not I should include these here since they technically came out on December last year, but hey, they aired mostly throughout this year, so fuck it. Demon Slayer gave us 2 great openings, one for the re-edit of the Infinity Train movie that serves as a mini recap of the arc's key events in a spectacular fashion, and another one for the Entertainment District arc with a very similar feel, and both of them feature what Ufotable does best: incredible 3D action sequences and 3D environments with 3D effects, while damn near perfectly blending it all with amazing 2D animation. And then Stone Ocean, which by the way got shafted by Netflix thanks to their stupid binge release, saw the return of fan-favorite studio Kamikaze Doga with their incredibly distinct and dynamic 3D style, resulting in one of the best JoJo OPs since End of the World, while also throwing in some fantastic callbacks to previous OPs in what can only be described as a celebration of JoJo. And to top it all off, they even made some minor updates to it come the second part, most notably changing the boring credits into one made by Jolene's thread, which you can see zooming around all the different shots of this OP.
Spring!
Aharen-san gave us another contender for cutest OP of the year with its adorable pastel aesthetic, while also capturing the dynamic between our main couple pretty much perfectly. Another OP that looks incredibly similar with a pastel style is Mappa's Dance Dance Danseur. And while that is true, the most impressive thing about the sequence is that most of it is animated to look like it's shot in first person, which I cannot imagine being easy to do. And on top of that, the dance animation and choreography, especially in that last section with all the kaleidoscope effects, it's nothing short of amazing. So just Mappa doing Mappa things, I guess. We saw a lot of that this year. Birdie Wing somehow managed to make golf seem hype, and that alone is commendable, to be honest. Famous YouTube cover artist Pelike actually sang the opening to an anime this year. He provided the vocals to a song written by Hotaru, who you might know from the Overlord OPs, for the Skeleton Knight anime, which by default came equipped with sound effects. And I guess that makes it less special since you hear them every episode, unlike how JoJo does it, but it doesn't make it any less badass, and that's the best description I can give this OP. It's badass. The newest incarnation of Ghost in the Shell gave us a pretty flashy and mind-bending Doctor Strange-esque falling sequence, completely using CG, which actually looks pretty fucking good, unlike the show itself. Healer Girl did the thing where the characters themselves sing the opening, which I always enjoy, but they did it with some impressive animation, so that makes it even better. Kaguya-sama gave us a solid OP once again, maybe not as strippy as Love Dramatic and not as dynamic as Daddy Daddy 2, but solid nonetheless, and it doesn't matter. I'm willing to let it slide because A1 delivered extra for the ED of this season. And listen, I know this is a video about OPs, but the ED is so good that it's a crime not to bring attention to it, continuing a story that actually started way back on the first ED, and now they're fucking going to space. Oh, and don't even get me started on the jaw-dropping rap performance, because I feel like I can gush about that special ED for hours on end, and now's not the time for it. Just know that it is amazing and that Verkreek is a fucking genius for directing and doing the first key animation of the whole thing. A couple of cuckoos gave us a fun intro playing into the whole separated at birth thing by making the first half of the sequence in split screen, then merging both when the titular characters meet. Then going into a fun TikTok dance sort of thing that's very well edited. The transitions between the shots are pretty clean. Shikimori-san had a very colorful and well-animated OP that showcased just how cute the main girl is, but also it threw the main couple into a bunch of fantasy scenarios in a very flashy manner, making it one of those rare occasions where a romance anime has an opening that is directed as if it was made for an action shonen of sorts. With its second season, Komi-san seems to have upped the animation quality from the first season's OP, which was already quite good, but this one is exceedingly animated and it does a wonderful job of showcasing the large cast of zany characters while also framing a lot of it as Komi's POV for a movie that they're shooting. Love Live gave us another OP of what they do best: cute idol girls doing cute idol things, and also incredible idol performances with impressive use of 3D to the point where at times it basically looks like 2D. Summertime Render had a very unique looking OP, very trippy, framing almost all of the visuals in some sort of grid and blending the credits into each shot in a very satisfying manner. But perhaps even more unique was the OP for a very bizarre Netflix comedy about a bath designer from ancient Rome slipping into modern-day Japan called Thermae Romae Novae, which had its OP rendered completely in that classic Roman vase painting style, appropriately enough, while having this absolute chat of a dude called Paolo sing the theme song fully in Italian. I'm kind of at a loss for words, I'm not gonna lie. And then, as if Ishihama hadn't flexed enough last season, he went and directed the opening of one of the most popular shows of this year, Spy Family. and holy shit did he kill it again. This OP is divided into two sections. The first half is almost all drawn as if it was one of Anya's adorable drawings, showing everything around her as she herself imagines it. Then by the second half, reality hits and we get some Yor and Lloyd action shots that then give way into the typical Ishihama shots with all of the contrasting colors and everything else that I mentioned before. I love this OP, it's so creative and it meshes so well with the general tone of the series that I can't help it. Also, my Ishihama bias is showing. But alas, probably the most popular OP of the season was one that didn't actually do a lot, yet what it did do, it did fantastically well. All it took was some smooth but simple dance moves and an absolute banger of a track to make the Paripi Koumei OP stand out amongst the rest. This OP just oozes style, and while technically not as impressive as other OPs of this year, it managed to get into the same podium as the rest by that sheer swagger of Kongming's dance moves in the modern streets of Shibuya. Summer! Dr. Stone came back for a little bit with a new special, and while they didn't have to do this, they made a new version of Good Morning World, which was the very first opening of the show, and they made it even more epic. And while the original was already quite good, this one improves on it quite a bit, both in its direction and animation, so props for that. A1 Pictures kind of flexed this season with its two original shows, Engaged Kiss and Licorice Recoil. Both shows were popular in their own right, and their OPs were quite good as well, both highlighting different things that the studio is well known for these days. The former has some impressive action and effects animation, while the latter is brimming with personality with its character animation. Then it was kind of hard to tell whether or not Extreme Hearts was an idol anime or a sports anime. I think it might be both. Either way, the OP has elements of both of those genres and it blends them quite well, I'd say. I was especially impressed with the shots showcasing each girl playing their respective hypersport, each one with their own insane enhancement power-up thingy. I have no idea what it is, I haven't seen the show, but damn it, that's some great animation. Shadow's House had a very simple but well-directed sequence with it leaning into the clockwork imagery, and while the whole build-up is handled quite nicely, the resolution once the chorus hits is kinda boring, visually speaking at least. It's just Miliko and Kate hugging and running into the distance, and I guess that's nice, but there could have been much more, especially since that Ryota song is so good with its strange blend of tango, jazz, and waltz influences. Uncle from Another World went ballistic with the video game influences. It had an OP that was mostly animated in full-on various retro console art styles, these being 16-bit era pixel art, PS1 low poly graphics, and there's even some shots with some kind of pixel-like filter of sorts that reminds me of those PC-98 visual novels, whatever it is. The result is one of the most unique openings of the year, and also Uncle's got some nasty dance moves. Kakegurui Twin had an unusually short opening, but it's still very fancy and very classy nonetheless. I absolutely vibe with the slick style of the OP with its harsh and dark shading. It makes it look like a very professional intro sequence for like a classic movie or something like that. Black Summoner had another very similarly slick and stylish OP, but this one leans more heavily into the motion graphics animation and it does it very well. I also really appreciate the incorporation of the credits down to the mirror text near the end. And yet another show with a similar OP was Prince of Tennis, but in this one, everything is synced to a much more J-pop tune, which seems to fit this style a little more. I really like the impact of each character hitting the ball. The weight is so strong that they even break the graphics themselves. It's really cool. Hey, remember what I said about Love Live in the previous season? Well, they did it again this season. Truly, the ever-present constant force of the universe, that is Love Live. But Love Live wasn't the only idol show with an impressive OP this season, because Shine Post had one as well. And this one was mostly done with traditional 2D animation as far as I can tell, with very few CG shots, and dang, they did it really well. Character animation on these idol shows seems to just be getting better and better. Not Takagi-san had another very cute opening, but this one had much more shogi and also some very good dancing. Another OP that had some very good dancing was the OP for Teppen, and it was accompanied by some very slick and simplistic dynamic backgrounds, and the transitions between them are smooth as fuck. Also, anime girls rapping. That's sick! Yurei Deco had a very colorful and trippy OP, which is kinda par for the course for Science Horror to be fair, but the whole feel of the OP plus the song itself gives me mad 80s vibes, and I love that. And then fucking Boruto again, what the hell, had another banger opening, though this one is less impressive than the previous one with its animation, though it certainly isn't lacking anyways. What it does have over the previous one is style. Everything is super colorful and eye-catching, and many credits are perfectly incorporated into these stylish visuals. This this one really is a treat for the eyes. Overlord came back with its 4th season and they delivered their best opening yet, having let go of the style that they had for the majority of their previous OPs, foregoing actual backgrounds and having a lot of things happen in just a black void. This one legitimately looks really good, and the CG isn't even a problem here since it's sparsely used, and the action scenes are looking better than ever. And speaking of coming back, Made in Abyss finally returned in all of its terrifying and disgusting glory, and that means another masterful soundtrack by Kevin Penkin. And yes, that technically is unrelated to this video, but I still wanted to mention that. As for the opening, it's great yet again. They didn't go for another character song with the voice actors for Riko and Reg, but that doesn't matter because Riko Asuna made a banger either way. Visually speaking, they do a fantastic job of illustrating the parallels between the journey of Riko and the gang and the Ganja people, later going into a fantastic set of action shots with some beautiful animation, as expected of Kinema Citrus really. Another show that came back but didn't cause quite as much of a splash as the last two was Classroom of the Elite, and they went with a less is more approach for the OP, resorting to mostly still shots but with some neat effects. They do, however, kinda make up for the lack of animation by incorporating the lyrics of the song into the visuals in very cool ways, which is a very rare thing to do. Usually when OPs include the lyrics, they just put them as subtitles and that's it. I can't really think of many more examples of this. Oh wait, no, I can, because Call of the Night also aired this season. I know that people kinda expected the song that birthed the whole manga to be the OP, but honestly it wouldn't have fit very well. As an ending though, it slaps. The ED is great. But we're here to talk about the OP, and that one also slaps. I've mentioned before how certain openings that blend the credits and the visuals lose something if you were to remove the credits. But this one, and to a lesser extent the previous one too, wouldn't be the same if you removed the lyrics, because they honestly make the whole sequence come together really well, since the lyrics seem to be the focus of most of the shots they're in, and they incorporate them in very creative ways. They're in the shadows or in the walls, on the roofs, in the sky, on LED screens that orbit around. It's all so cool. And the rest of the OP is also really fucking cool. The animation and direction are top notch, and the bit where it shows them reacting to the OP itself before being dropped right back into it is freaking genius. It's just a great opening all around. But in the end, the one that got everyone talking was Trigger, unsurprisingly enough. They dropped quite possibly their best show yet with Cyberpunk Edge Runners, a show that made everybody and their mothers cream their pants from the hype and then cry their eyes out from sadness, while at the same time revitalizing the original game, making a lot of people forget about its disastrous launch, myself included. But aside from that, they did that cool thing where they licensed a Western song for its opening sequence, something you don't see quite often, going for the highly appropriate Franz Ferdinand song This Fire, which includes the lyrics "I'm gonna burn this city," which is like, you know, the whole point of Cyberpunk. But, as good old Jeff pointed out, they removed that line from the OP because how the fuck are you gonna burn down a city like Night City, right? Outside of that, visually, this opening is fucking striking to say the least. The colors are very bright and in your face, very yellow, big and bold and dynamic. I've criticized big credits before, but when done this well, I can't really be mad. Overall, it's a very simple sequence. There's not really a lot of animation, but damn it if they don't take advantage of that simplicity. To start out chill, Akiba Maid Wars gave us an opening that's basically the result of a crossover between Blend S and Black Lagoon. That's it. Extra points for the song using the typical maid greetings in different fashions, contrasting with the gnarly heavy beat in the background. This OP is a riot. Blue Lock had, all things considered, a pretty standard OP for a sports anime, but the striking character designs and sparse use of color during its first section make it really stand out amongst the rest. Plus, there's some really nice animation during the chorus. Bocchi the Rock became the surprise hit of the season, and it had a very stylish opening to go along with it. In many ways is what that Hiroaka opening for the school festival arc should have been, and at times it feels like an Ishihama opening, which is high praise considering he didn't work on it. The director, however, is a very talented key animator who worked on Sunny Boy and many other shows, so he does have the pedigree, and this opening sequence shows it. Oh, and speaking of My Hero Academia, the show came back with its 6th season, holy shit. Hiroaka is one of those shows that consistently has had pretty good OPs, but lately they've been kinda lacking. The most recent seasons had decent openings for sure, but they were a far cry from the ones of the first few seasons. However, it seems that for this highly anticipated arc, they've upped their game, giving us a legitimately great sequence. The first half of the OP has these great shots colored and shaded with just one color, and they are riddled with comic book sound effects, all perfectly timed together to the banger of a song made by Super Beaver, before breaking into the traditional superpower showcase and the ensemble shots, but damn it, they might be the best looking ones they've done. This OP is a classic shonen opening, but done damn near work perfectly. Do It Yourself had an adorable opening that's filled to the brim with personality, and part of what gives it that feel is the highly detailed character animation. I literally cannot get enough of those shots of all the girls dancing with their tools in hand. It's just too much. Golden Kamui delivered its best opening yet, and also the most dramatic one. There are so many shots that can only be described as menacing. Hell, some characters even throw JoJo poses in there for extra menace. But in all seriousness, it is the best looking opening that they've done. The animation is super smooth even if the OP itself is not very action-packed, opting for those slow and methodical shots that work so well. Also, Shiraishi Ushiyama and Tanigaki have a few shots that look straight out of a 90s hip-hop music video, and I love it. There was this one obscure show called The Human Crazy University that I want to mention because its OP is very unusual. It's animated like those Queen Bee hentai that everyone hates, justifiably so. It's almost like a motion manga, but with the visual effects and motion graphics cracked up to 11, all to the sound of a banger track by none other than Nano, so yeah, that caught me by surprise. Arknights gave us a very melancholic and highly cinematic opening worthy of that beautiful Eimer track, and it perfectly matches the whole tone of the show too. Not to mention the animation is top notch even if there isn't a lot of it, but the subtle and more subdued work really goes a long way. Uzaki-chan gave us an energetic and busy opening, very fitting for the show if I do say so myself. There's so many moving parts and so many motion graphics that I really do like the way it all comes together. Yamana Suzume came out with its 4th season and gave us a freaking adorable opening with incredible character animation all around. Detective Conan had a spin-off show about a silhouette? Wait, let me get this straight. This is a spin-off centering around the silhouette that shows up in regular Detective Conan episodes where they want to hide the identity of the culprit. Okay, that's kind of funny. Anyways, this opening just has the silhouette dancing, and it's very well choreographed and animated, so I just had to bring it up. The newest incarnation of Gundam, Witch of Mercury, had an opening that if the mechs hadn't shown up in the chorus, I wouldn't have known it was a Gundam show. It's very chill, very laid back, and with some very nice animation and direction before it goes into the more traditional mecha OP sequence, all while still retaining that overall chill vibe. I dig it. Pop Team Epic kinda cheated because they had a one-off opening in the first episode that was a perfect Kamen Rider parody, which I want to mention because it was too good not to, even if it technically wasn't anime. But aside from that, they did have an actual OP, and oh boy was it something. The first season already had a great looking but trippy OP, and it seems as if for this season they decided to go even further with the trippiness, making a sequence that I can only describe as an acid trip. And I mean that as a compliment. Legend of Mana had an anime adaptation that caught me by surprise, and its OP was really good even if there is a lack of cohesion between all of the shots. It just looks like a collection of random scenes. That said, they are really good scenes, from epic hero shots to big action set pieces, all brought together by a fantastically epic track composed by none other than Kevin Penkin with vocals from Saori Hayami, which is like a match made in heaven, honestly. Management of Novice Alchemist had an OP with cute girls doing cute things in a fantasy world, and also a really cool action sequence that feels like it belongs in the shonen series. And then Spy Family had its second half airing this season, and once again it gave us a fantastic OP, this time directed by Tetsuro Araki, you know, the madman behind that scene. It's a wonder that this opening is as chill as it is, having been directed by him, but seriously, this OP feels like it was made at 24 wallpapers per second. Every shot is goddamn gorgeous. It's quite possibly the prettiest OP we had all year. David Production dazzled us with their Urusei Yatsura remake, bringing the classic manga to a modern setting quite literally with the opening, complete with Tinder, idol shows, and wotage. But aside from all that, this OP truly feels like a love letter to Rumiko Takahashi's original work, even going as far as to fill the first few shots with classic black and white shots of Loom doing many cute things in a style heavily reminiscent of Takahashi's own style. Now, I never read the manga, but if you tell me those are actual panels from it, I'd believe you. I know very well what David Production can do, and this opening clearly shows it. They really did justice to the OG waifu. She's animated beautifully throughout this OP. But David Production didn't stop there. Oh no, because this season also saw the finale of Stone Ocean, and with it came a new opening, and boy oh boy that opening, it's so good. It's more calm and more relaxed than previous JoJo openings, especially for the final arc, where you'd expect a more epic track with a lot of action sequences, but that wouldn't quite fit with the overall tone of the last leg of this part. So the Sajo no Hana song is a goddamn perfect fit for it. Same goes for the more subdued animation, and hey, the one action sequence is still really fucking good. But the best part of this OP is undoubtedly the edited version for the final battle, and oh my god, it's the perfect culmination for the saga of the Joestars. It perfectly incorporates Bocchi's powers to, spoilers, speed up time and reset the universe, bringing Jolene all the way back to the manga shots of the very first opening, where she breaks out of her manga pose into the lineup of the past JoJo's with her wire connecting the stone mask, the red stone of Aja, the stand arrow, and Dio's bone, then cutting to a confrontation against Bocchi with the shot calling back to Jonathan's confrontation with Dio, and then it all breaks down into a shot of the last chapter. Oh my god, it's fucking brilliant! Okay, I need to calm down. Part 6 is so damn good, god damn it. Mob Psycho 100 had quite possibly the biggest shoes to fill when it came to its opening, because the previous 2 seasons had OPs so good that skyrocketed into the territory of best anime openings of all time. And while they did deliver a really good OP, I wouldn't say it's as good as the previous 2, but come on, that was a nigh impossible task. I do, however, really love this OP. It's like a love letter to Mob Psycho as a whole, and I wouldn't have it any other way, you know, with this being the final season of the show. Also, that last shot of Small Mob growing up with Reagan always being there with the lyrics "one and only one," that's enough to bring me to tears. And after many years of waiting, of rampant speculation, rumors, and countless fake articles about it, Bleach came back. Listen, I have a soft spot for Bleach. Without it, I probably wouldn't even be here making these dumb videos. Despite all of its flaws, I still really enjoy it. But if there's one thing that I like even more than Bleach, it's Bleach openings. You see, in its original run, Studio Pierrot did something impressive, seldom seen. They had 15 openings in total for the 366 episodes of the show, and all of them were good. Sure, some were better than others, but still, they're all fucking good for fuck's sake. So this was another series that had some big shoes to fill in the OP department, and luckily they've nailed it. This new OP feels like a classic Bleach opening, but modernized, and the choice to make the visuals stick to the pink and monochrome palette is so freaking cool. Kinda calls back to the style of the volume covers of the final arc that the manga had. It's just so cool. It encapsulates the style of Bleach so perfectly, and I love it. But still, even if Bleach coming back was a big deal, it still wasn't as big of a deal as Chainsaw Man. Yes, the show's good, the entire internet knows it, despite what the vocal minority might say. But also, the entire internet already analyzed the living shit out of this opening mere femtoseconds after it dropped, so there's really not much more I can say about it. It's another one directed by Shingo Yamashita, so it's got all of the markings of his work, plus a metric fuckton of movie references, subtle dick jokes, and dancing. I legitimately can't say anything that other people haven't already said, and probably better, so I'll just leave it at that. It's just an incredible opening. Also, MAPPA had the balls to one-up the 4 endings they did for Dorohedoro, producing one new ending with a completely new song and visuals for each freaking episode, and they're all good. The standout being the 3rd one, with its absolute banger of a track by Maximum the Hormone and some of the most trippy visuals for any sequence in the whole year. And yes, I did go off talking about endings again, but what MAPPA did was so remarkable that I had to bring it up. In other words, Chainsaw Man good. Conclusion. I'm tired of yelling. We got some good OPs this year. I feel like other years might have been more stacked in that regard, but we did get a handful of incredible ones this year. Like before, it might have been hard to narrow down which ones were the best openings of the year, but in 2022, looking back is kind of easy to figure out which ones qualify. And that's not to say that the general quality of openings declined, it's just that the ones that were good were really fucking good. Before I let you go though, I want to do a little bit of an experiment. We all know about the Crunchyroll Anime Awards, right? Love them, hate them, they always make them, and much to the chagrin of many in the anime community. And most of the time, I feel like the hate comes from the heavy recency bias that the nominees might have, on top of the fact that partly it's fan-voted, making it seem like a normie-ass popularity contest. Like, take a wild guess as to what show has a high likelihood of winning Anime of the Year. See what I mean? But aside from general awards criticism, one of the categories has always been Opening of the Year, and I've had my gripes with previous editions of this particular award, so I thought it would be interesting to lay down the ones that I think are gonna be the nominees, to see just how they stack up against Crunchyroll's actual picks later on when they're revealed. So let me give you the rundown of the list, and forgive me because some of these are toss-ups because I can't quite predict what Crunchyroll will go for, and there were just too many good openings this year. First off, Chainsaw Man, of course. Then Spy Family's first OP, because in general the first one made a bigger splash in the community, plus it's got that Higedan song and that helps. Then Paripi Komei, because it was one of the most popular openings of the year just in general. Attack on Titan Final Season Part 2 because it's Attack on Titan and the rumbling kinda blew up. Kaguya-sama because even if maybe it wasn't as huge as the previous two, it's still Kaguya-sama and Masayuki Suzuki, or Mob Psycho 100 for the same reason. And finally, either Bleach's opening because of its big comeback, or Cyberpunk Edge Runners, even though I feel like most people remember the show itself more than the opening. They generally have 6 nominees in this category, so let's leave it at that, with the added wildcard of Demon Slayer because it technically came out last year, even though that didn't stop Crunchyroll before. But also, let me mention some great OPs that are very good but have less chances of being nominated, a list of honorable mentions if you will. Girls Frontline, Sabikui Bisco, Tokyo 24th Ward, Summertime Render, One Piece, both Boruto openings, Kami-san, Uncle from Another World, Black Summoner, Made in Abyss, Call of the Night, Do It Yourself, My Hero Academia, Pop Team Epic, and Urusei Yatsura. Oh, and the second opening to Ranking of Kings. Also JoJo, I forgot JoJo. So yeah, that was the year, I guess. I don't know what else I can say. I think I said everything I wanted to. Don't think I have a joke that I could cut off with the